sailboat in the moonlight and you. Wouldn't that be heaven? Oh, heaven just for two. A soft breeze on a June night and you. What a perfect setting for letting dreams come true.
Here we are in Staniel Cay. I got my buddy Vince here right beside me. Vince,
hey Chris.
What can you tell me about Staniel Cay?
The rocks.
The rocks? What about
rocks.
Them? Oh, it rocks.
It rocks.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the rocks that Beneteau 40 just rode up on.
That's bad. That's embarrassing.
No one to talk to, all by myself. No one to walk with, but I am happy on the shelf. In misbehaving, I'm saving all my love for you. Darling, you know it's true. I know for certain, the one I love, I'm through with watching it's you that I am thinking of. In misbehaving, I'm saving all my love for you.
I want to show you what the sun does to the glue on your dinghy. Can you move your foot, please? We've already lost 2 seats. We should have re-glued those before we left, and we didn't. We had re-glued a few other things. The dinghy is getting a little old, and we didn't bring extra glue with us. So we're without seats for the rest of the trip, or at least until we get back into the good US of A to purchase some good dinghy glue. Anyway. At least it doesn't look appealing to steal.
Like Jack Horner in the corner, don't know where. What do I care? Your kiss is always waiting for me. I don't go out late, got nowhere to go. I'm home about 8, just me and my radio. Ain't misbehaving, saving all my love for you. Da da and da da.
So Deb and I are at Staniel Cay. We've been here a couple, 3 days. We're waiting for Hannah and Louie to catch up again. They must be slow or something.
Yeah. We like to dig our heels in when they're behind us because then we know we'll get to see them, and they're going to be gone for a couple years, so we take every opportunity we can to spend time with them. And Cora and Hans, our grandchildren, because they'll certainly look different the next time we see them.
Yeah.
Hans will be walking.
And Staniel Cay has proven to be quite a nice anchorage, although with the wind shifting to the south, it's very rolly right now. So our plan is today to move somewhere where it's going to be a bit more comfortable. I think tomorrow we're going to go to Black Point. Some of our friends are there. It's only a few miles away from here.
We just went swimming on a beach that was beautiful. We just had to go get cool. We didn't want to swim off the boat because yesterday when Chris dropped the ladder, 2 nurse shark came out immediately to investigate the splash.
Yes, they were far too interested in me swimming.
And I'd say they were probably 5, give or take, 5 feet. So they had really, one of them especially had a very large head. So
and I, on the other hand, believe they were more like 8 feet, so they're probably somewhere in the middle.
that's because you were the one who was thinking of going swimming. They were
There was
8
a
feet.
smaller one and a bigger one, but
Yeah.
way too big for me. And way too close, like they just seemed to...
Yeah, and then Chris
Very
started
curious, eh?
splashing the bottom of the ladder, and they came right up to it. They were very curious as to what the splashing was. So, you know, it could have maybe been our feet,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean they would have bit us. They just maybe curious sharks.
I think we had a concern going out that the heat would be too much for us. How have you been finding the heat?
I find the heat fine.
Yeah.
We've had a couple days where we've been in the water a lot because it was warm, but it's not been unbearable now.
No.
But I heard heading back in the summer, when you get in around Georgia area, that it gets a little bit more hot.
Yeah. So we're going to try and skip Georgia, skip some of Florida, and kind of get our way back up to the northern portions of the ICW for our return trip. But that's a long way off. We can talk about that later, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking about heat.
Yeah.
It hasn't been bothering me. So.
The sailing has not been a big part of what we're doing. Like, most of our travel's been by motor, and I've been a little disappointed in that. So we'd like to do a little more sailing on the way back, which everyone assures us that's when you sail because you're going with the prevailing winds. But
Yeah.
Certainly for the last month or two, we've hardly sailed at all.
We've had a few good sails.
A couple.
Yeah, and we've motor sailed a lot.
Yeah.
But not, you know, with the engine off and sails up, only a few times. Yeah. But everyone's saying the same thing. So.
Food. Did we get enough food?
Yes, we're finding that the food is quite expensive in the Bahamas, so provision carefully. And we don't mind paying the extra. I mean, we are supporting the Bahamians, and they do have to transport the food in by ship or boat because they are an island and they don't produce, I don't believe, really any, but unless maybe they have their own little vegetable gardens, but I don't think a lot of their produce is produced here.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So if you're planning on it, provision well, keep that in mind.
And when you think you've got enough, add a little bit more.
Especially chips. Chris is really missing
Snack
his
food
potato
is,
chips.
yeah. And you pay a premium, frankly, for snack food too. And it is part of what we consume, you know, when we're on vacation is snacks. I mean, that's...
Yeah,
that is
nuts
true.
and stuff like that. So we would have packed a little bit more nuts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Fruits and vegetables, certainly, always figure out ways to get dried, canned, whatever.
Frozen if you have a freezer.
Frozen if you got a freezer. So we've been through the Berry Islands. We've been through a good chunk of the Exumas. Now we got a little bit more to go on the Exuma Islands.
Yeah, Black Point we're going to hit.
Black Point and then Long Island, and there's a bunch of little islands in between too.
Georgetown.
Yeah. So we've got a fair ways to go yet south. We did think about going to Cuba at one point, but that's maybe not
I'd
going
like
to
to
happen.
fly to Cuba and first check it out that way.
Yeah.
And
We're not that far from Cuba.
and we
right
didn't
now.
really invest it. We didn't do any research on paperwork and stuff like that. So I mean, if we jumped over there, it'd be the spur of the moment, and I don't particularly like to do that without doing some research first, because and then we're going to miss all the things that we didn't research, right? And so I'd rather be better prepared. But Cuba definitely interests us.
Sure. Finances. Now, we have spent somewhat more than we had expected.
Which everybody says that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be interested in hearing someone who said they spent less than they expected.
Yeah. I think although we spent a fair bit on the boat to get prepared, I think we spent about, by the time we get home, we'll have spent about $17,000.
Well, let's throw that out there, and then when we get back, I'll do the final bookwork.
Yeah.
I don't plan on doing it while I'm on holidays, but everything, I have all my receipts and all the bank statements and stuff like that. So when I get back, then I'll calculate what was spent where, and we'll let you know.
But it does look like that's going to be about the cost. And we've been pretty frugal. I mean, we've eaten out on occasion. But we've
stayed in marinas on occasion.
Stayed in marinas on occasion, so we didn't go completely bare bones, but still, we weren't extravagant by any means. We
So
didn't
where
have
have
any
we spent
major
money?
expenses.
Chain. We bought
fuel.
chain.
We bought some chain. We bought some lots of groceries, obviously. Groceries have been the biggest one in fuel, really.
Yeah, well, we spend that at home as well.
Yeah, so you're going to spend that anyway. So far, so good. Windover's been fantastic. I think as a boat, she's met all of our expectations and then some. And
Absolutely. Oh, Grant, no.
if anybody recognizes this place, can you let us know?
This is Windover Water coming to you from Staniel Cay.
Get in there. It's fine.
Yeah, Deb just remembered it's Staniel Cay. Well done, dear. We'll never be lost with you. Can't remember where we're at again.
Staniel Cay.
So Deb and I are at Staniel Cay.
Talk to me.